So to start this project, you're going to have two pieces that are equal in size, but you can use two totally different fabrics. This is going to be the bottom pocket of the double pocket zipper bag. So I'm gonna start with whichever piece I would like to be the liner, and I'm gonna have it so the right side is touching the countertop that I'm working on. And then the next piece, and these pieces are 9.5 inches by 13 inches. I'm gonna lay this one so the wrong side is touching that last piece. So these are gonna be wrong sides together, and both of the right sides are gonna be on the outside. And for classroom purposes, we are going to go ahead and put some pins in along the edges. You want a pin to sew, and you just need a few, but you wanna do this to make sure that your fabric doesn't shift on you, because you're gonna be doing a really close seam allowance, okay? So you're going to do a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around, and that should be similar to what you've done if you've ever top stitched before. It is really close to the edge, so we'll take care of that. Now you'll do that on all 4 sides. All right, I have my stitch selector on a 1, and I'm just gonna line the edge of the fabric up with the center groove on the middle of the presser foot. You'll want to trim off all your loose threads on the ends, and then you're going to repeat the process exactly as you just did, but doing it with the large pieces. Okay, and just to show you, there is that really close seam on all 4 sides. Okay, so repeat the process with the outer pieces. All right, I'm gonna trim up the extra threads on this. And you may have noticed in the video there that I realized after starting that my 2 pieces were not identical. And so I missed getting one area. So I'm just gonna trim that up right now. And now everything should be okay. I just wanted to make sure that all of my edges were sewn. So I adjusted it as I was sewing, but you will wanna do a good job of lining those pieces up precisely as you are going. So what you have now are 2 finished pieces. You have your beginning, this is the top part, outer piece and liner, and this is the bottom pocket, outer piece and liner. Okay, so for this next part, you're going to take your zipper and you're gonna lay it down right side up. Right side means you can see the zipper pull and the zipper teeth on top. So this is a right side up zipper. Then I'm going to take my lower pocket area, and I am going to attach the one of the 9.5 inch sides to the top edge of the zipper. So whatever side of my fabric I want to be the outside of that pocket is what I want to lay right sides down. So I'm going to take this, I want this colorful side to be the outside of the pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a glue stick, and you don't want to use very much, but you can take the glue stick and just run it across the edge of the zipper just a little tiny bit. Okay, you want to try to avoid getting any in the actual zipper teeth. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this top edge right on top of the zipper. Okay, and then I'm just gonna push it down. So what I have is I have that top edge even with the edge of the zipper. So I'll flip it over here so you can see it a little easier. They're just even and straight across. All right, to remove your J-foot from your machine, first of all, you're gonna wanna make sure that your needle is up and that my presser foot is also up. You are going to touch this button back here. It's on the back behind the presser foot. I just push it and the J-foot falls down, falls off. So now we need to attach the zipper foot. If you're in class, you will find that zipper foot in a little box like this. okay, on one of the shelves in the classroom. Should be on one of the bottom 2 shelves. Make sure that when you use the foot that you put it right back when you are done, and so that everyone, when they need that foot, can know where to find it. To put the zipper foot on, you're going to look at the foot, and there is a side that has an I and a side that has a 3. We are going to attach the foot on the side that has the I, and so you'll just line it up with the metal piece that was holding the presser foot before, and it's on the left or the outer side of the zipper foot, okay? Then you will just take, and your machine needs to be on a 1 for this. I'm gonna take my zipper that's now glued down to the pocket, and I'm gonna line the left side of the foot up with the center of the zipper. Okay, so it kind of just butts up against it. Okay. You don't want to get it so close that you start stitching on the zipper, but it needs to be parallel with the zipper. So now we can go ahead and stitch down that side. Okay, I want to show you as I get close to the zipper pull, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the presser foot up. I'm going to grab a hold of that zipper pull there, and I'm just going to pull it out of the way past the presser foot. Then I will just lower my foot back down and continue stitching until I get to the end. And that's all you do. All right, so we had just finished sewing right here, putting the zipper on. So what we need to do is we need to flip it over to the right side, and we're gonna put a top stitch in along this folded edge. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna take the end of the fabric and I'm gonna kind of fold it up. So this is the opposite end from the zipper. I'm just kind of folding it up so that I can use the inner arm of my machine to sew. I'm gonna make sure that the zipper, the side that I've sewn on is flipped underneath, okay? And then I've still got my machine on a 1. I'm just going to put my needle down about 1/8 of an inch from this folded edge, and then I'm gonna top stitch along that side. This keeps the zipper from getting caught in the fabric when you open and close the zipper. All right, so what you should have so far is that lower pocket, and I've got what I want to be on the outside facing up. I've got my zipper face up, I've sewn it on, and then I've also done a top stitch along the edge. For this step, you will take your glue stick one more time, and again, just use a very small amount on the edge of the zipper tape. Okay, and then you're gonna take the bottom edge of your pocket and you're gonna bring it up and line it up even with that top edge of the zipper. Okay, so it's gonna look something like that. And now we are gonna go back to the sewing machine and sew the zipper on. So what you end up with looks kind of like a folded up loop. I have already opened up my zipper to get it out of the way because the zipper pull was gonna start out on my top edge. So just so that you are aware of that, I'm just sewing along this side of the zipper, but my zipper pull is already open and down at the bottom. What I'm going to do now as I approach that zipper pull, I'm going to do what I did previously. I'm going to lift up the presser foot, grab a hold of the zipper pull, and just move it past the presser foot, get it out of my way, and then I will lower the presser foot again and continue stitching the rest of the way down. Okay, so this is what you should have now. The purple flowery fabric right here, this is going to be my interior liner on the lower pocket. This is my exterior fabric on the lower pocket. What we need to do next is we need to unzip the zipper again, and we're going to flip this with the right side out. And on the side that we just sewed, we're going to top stitch along the edge just like we had done on this side. For this next part, we're going to drop our presser foot down. We're going to switch sides, and we are going to put the presser foot on the right side bar on the zipper foot. Now, one really important step here is I need to move my needle to a 2. If I left it on a 1, if you look right here, my needle is going to bump right into the presser foot and it would break the needle. So I need to turn the needle over to a 2 and it pops the needle position over to the right. Now I'm going to start, and I've opened my zipper already. I'm going to start up here at the top edge of my zipper that had been sewn on, and I'm doing this to top stitch that side in place. You want to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from that fold. Just not getting too close to the zipper. You don't want to sew over the zipper teeth. Back to this end, top stitch to the end. Okay, lift your needle, lift up the presser foot, slide it out. What you want to make sure is that you didn't accidentally sew the bag in when, like, get it attached. So I still have this complete opening, okay? And we want to double check to make sure it zips, okay? So we have a zipper on 1/2. This is our lower pocket, and we're going to repeat the same exact process for attaching the zipper to the larger, this is the upper pocket, the bigger one. All right, for this next step, you are going to measure from this folded edge up here 3/4 of an inch away from the zipper, and you'll be creating a new crease right there. Okay, so I'm going to measure like that, and then I'm just going to quickly press it with the iron. I don't need it to have too much of a crease, but I do want it to stay in that spot. And you do want to be careful not to melt your zipper, since these are plastic. So that was 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to move my seam gauge to 1/2 inch. And for the lower pocket, I'm going to have the top fold about 1/2 inch away. Okay, so once that's in place, then I'm going to press again. Okay, and then my next goal is to line up the bottoms. So the creases at the bottom line up across here, and then they need to line up along the sides. And then you will, if you had clips, you could use clips, but here at school we're probably just going to use pins. When you are pinning the side of the bag, you are just going to be pinning through one layer, so the back will still be loose. Okay, so your pin's going to go in, pin to sew, but you'll still be able to open it up like this. Okay, and we'll do that on both sides. All right, so you're going to take the 2 pieces that are pinned together, and again, this is open through here. You're gonna unzip the larger pocket or the upper pocket. I'm gonna unzip that. We're gonna turn this so that the wrong side is out. Careful with the pins that you have pinned in there, that you don't poke yourself. Okay, and then we are going to stitch through the pocket. So this is the lower pocket. We'll just put in a top stitch right along here and along this edge, and you do have to manipulate it just a little bit to make it work. For the bottom end, I'm actually going to turn my stitch selector to a 2 to move my needle to a center position. Then I'm going to line the bottom half of the fold up with the opening in the presser foot. You're going to return the bag where the right sides are out, and again, be careful with the pins so you don't poke yourself. Okay, so now this is the very bottom of the bag, so we need to just shift it again. You want to look and make sure that the bag just looks like it's supposed to, that nothing's bunched up or wrinkly. And then you do want to have both zippers, so both the lower and the upper zipper, open about halfway, and that is so when you are stitching, you don't accidentally sew over the zipper pull, which would break your needle. Depending on what size of a zipper you have, we just started with a 9-inch zipper, which is a little shorter than what you might typically use for this project. So what we're gonna have to do here is we're gonna have to create a slightly wider seam. What I wanna make sure I do is avoid this metal part of the zipper. So to do that, I am going to sew with the right sides out, which seems strange, but we are going to end up doing a French seam, so everything will be nice and clean and no raw edges. I'm gonna sew it close to this metal piece, or so that my needle ends up close to that, but won't actually run into it. So what we're gonna be doing on this is we're gonna try to sew without bumping into the metal parts of the zipper, but also keep it straight. So I have already sewn this, but I'm going to re-sew it. And I'm gonna be looking the entire time on my machine. I've got my machine set on a 1, and I'm gonna be looking over at the right of the throat plate. There's a number 2 grid that is 6/8 of an inch from the needle. It's a pretty wide seam allowance, but I'm doing that because I have this shorter zipper and I don't wanna bump into these edges, and I wanna make sure that I catch the entire zipper. So I'm gonna do that edge of the fabric lined up with the 2 on the throat plate. Now, if you have a larger zipper for this project, you can always, and it's recommended actually, to sew a much narrower seam allowance. But again, we only did that wider seam so that we would make sure to try to avoid these metal parts of the zipper and to catch all parts of the zipper when sewing. So we're once again going to use the 2 on the throat plate as our guide. So now that we have sewn our seams, we want to trim off any of the extra seam allowance because we're going to be doing a French seam, so we want to finish this up. Now these are sewing shears, but the blades are ruined on them, so if you have available, just use regular scissors, or you could use a rotary cutter and mat if you have that available. And you're going to trim off to where we only have a little over 1/8 of an inch of a seam allowance left over. Be careful when you're cutting through that you don't cut through anything metal, okay? So I just went over the plastic teeth of the zipper, had no trouble there. And now I'm on the upper half, and I'm just gonna be trimming through the zipper teeth again. So you'll repeat that on the other side as well. So we have sewn the side seams, we have trimmed down the seam allowance. Now you're going to open up the top zipper all the way, and you're going to flip this where the wrong side is out. Okay, and you really want to be careful to poke out the corners here so that you have sharp edges, sharp corners. We want to keep that lower pocket zipper centered. This step is when you run the most risk of accidentally running over a metal part of the zipper. So you just want to be careful. I've got the zipper pull for the lower zipper right down here. So I'm not going to hit it, but I still need to take my zipper here, and I need to have it in the center as well, okay? Before I stitch this anymore though, I'm gonna make sure to poke out the corners really well on all 4 corners. And to help you do that, you might take a closed pair of shears, stuff it down in the corner, and just kind of work on poking those out a little bit. Okay, this is something you can't really go back and fix later if you don't do it now. Okay. So you'll want to smooth this out flat, and now you're going to be doing a 3/8 seam allowance down both of the long edges, okay? This is going to be the final step in completing the French seam. All right, we are on a 1 on this stitch selector, and we're going to just use the edge of the presser foot as a guide. Okay, so you have just finished sewing both of the sides 3/8. Now you do not want to do any other clipping or trimming of the fabric, because the whole purpose of sewing it in this way was so that we had all finished edges, no raw edges showing. I am going to clip up any loose threads that I have, just kind of clean it up and make it look nice and professional. Then we can unzip the zipper the rest of the way. This is the top zipper. And you can flip the project right side out. And then you have a finished product. Okay. Flip over that top edge. Okay, so now we have a double zipper pouch pocket. And the only thing I have left that I need to do is I need to go back from the inside, take my closed pair of shears, and I'm going to try to poke out the corners the best that I can. Because I did those French seams with a pretty wide seam allowance, they're not going to be totally flat, but we want to have them lay as nicely as we can. One other thing that you'll want to do is you want to look at your side seam to make sure that you cut all areas and that you don't have any raw edges poking out there. Like if you had not trimmed your seam down narrow enough earlier on the last step, then you might see some raw edge poking out here, in which case you'd probably want to flip your bag wrong side out again and just widen your French seam a bit, okay? So you've got this option of using this pocket. Maybe if you're using this for like cosmetics, maybe you put a hairbrush or flat iron spray or something down in here, and then you could have this part. You've got some makeup, lipstick, that type of thing, maybe some necessities. You could use it at school and have erasers and extra lead stored in this area, and then maybe back here you've got your pins, your scissors, a ruler, that kind of stuff. Okay, so great little double zipper, double pocket bag.